You work hard for your warehouse, but is your technology working as hard as you do? Don't you think your warehouse deserves that? Find that technology work ethic with the EPG One Unified Supply Chain Execution Suite that's built to arm warehouse leaders with tech that powers competitive edge. With modular solutions for WMS, WCS, TMS, workforce, doc, 3PL billing, control tower, and the #1 voice picking solution named Lydia Voice, the EPG One suite gives you tech that works harder for your warehouse and the agility to help you scale with confidence and be built for what's next. Smarter, connected, and harder working logistics starts at EPG.com. That's EPG.com.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse Podcast on site here at WERC 2025 in New Orleans. And I just got done seeing this electric presentation from this man sitting next to me here talking about active shooter situations and how to plan for them. And I said, he's got to come over here. He's got to come on the podcast because I think this is a incredibly important topic for people in all realms, but especially in a warehouse environment as well. So this is Bubba Fatula. He's of the Fatula Company. He's got a long history in law enforcement and military as well, right? And understanding these types of situations. So, Bubba, how you doing?
Good, thank you. I appreciate you showing up for the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I met him last night, and he hooked me in. I guess he got me interested. So
that was the goal, right?
Yeah.
Go talk to everybody, make them show up at my training. So yeah,
definitely. So this is a little bit of a different topic than we typically talk about on the podcast, but I think it's one that is especially important in any workplace, any public environment, or even I guess in a house and in some situations too at home as well. But tell us a little bit about kind of how do you even define an active shooter situation?
Yeah, so, and I'm glad you asked that, because the truth is, it is defined the wrong way a lot of times. An active shooter is somebody who's actively engaged in killing you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's without rhyme or reason, but they have a goal, and their goal is to kill as many people as they can. Sometimes people plan this out for days, weeks, or months, or even sometimes years. So we hope that we can find what we call leakage, that an employee lets us know through something or telling someone that they plan on hurting somebody and that we can intervene. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, definitely. And obviously, we hear more and more about it in the news, right, in recent years. And, I think it's something that you touched on, right, saying that, it's something that we don't always necessarily think about until it's actually happening or something's happening. So tell us a little bit about, why should people be more conscious of this, even like if it's not happened to them, or if, they're thinking that, this isn't something that could happen to me, right? Right. Tell us why should you be more concerned about this? Why should you be more conscious about it?
Well, you nailed it. I mean, the truth is we love to think that happens to other people. That doesn't happen to me. That'll never happen to me. Until it happens to somebody we love or to ourselves at our workplace, at church, at a movie theater. But everybody needs a plan. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to say, okay, if we're caught in a fire, what are we going to do? If we turn our car over, how will I get out of it? It's the little things that we train our brain to tell our body to do that allows us in a time of a crisis when the brain just doesn't want to work, it comes through for us. So the truth is, if we're never going to think about active shooter, if the thought process is going to be, it'll never happen to me.
Yeah.
Well, then you'll never make a plan. And then unfortunately, you'll be with the people you love and walking in a mall. And then all of a sudden, unbeknownst to you, shots are fired.
Yeah.
And so, what are you going to do at that point? Are you going to freeze? Are you going to wait for somebody to come save you? Or are you going to take what you trained your brain to tell your body to do and get your loved ones out of there? So we should all take the time to make a plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're here at the WERC conference, right, which is all about the warehousing, right, where you focus on all different parts of businesses and companies and locations. But, tell us, I guess, specifically to a warehouse distribution center environment, what type of potential challenges or nuances maybe could be there in an active shooter situation?
Yeah, it definitely changes in a warehouse, right?
Yeah.
It's not your everyday, hallways and offices and locked doors and all that stuff. And I've trained at a lot of facilities just like that, with a warehouse, wide open, machinery, maybe assembly line, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that there are pros and cons to every place we walk into. So at our workplace, if we identify that one of the cons are, I'm in a wide open space, right? I don't have as many things to hide in or behind. Then you have to change the plan. So for instance, when I train companies that have big warehouses and their people are right out on the floor doing the job, is I say, how will you tell them, immediately that there's a shooter amongst them? Because sometimes they're running big machinery. They have maybe ear protection on. They're so, involved in what they're doing that there could be gunshots, and we've proven this.
Yeah.
There could be gunshots behind you, and you don't even know it's happening. So we suggest in big warehouses that you put some kind of lighting in. So if somebody knows there's a shooter in that warehouse, a button is pushed, maybe, a panic button, whether somebody wears it on a lanyard or on their belt. And as soon as a gun is seen, you press that button and now these strobes go off. And now it alerts people other than what they can't hear.
Yeah.
So when you work in big warehouses and it can be noisy and you don't have the same opportunity that everybody else has, you've got to think outside the box. So now let's start thinking about, how do we tell the masses as quick as we can that there's a shooter amongst us?
Right.
So I love strobe lights. I love that kind of notification or mass notification, because people just don't hear in warehouses what's happening. And so many things are falling and being moved and forklifts and all that gunshots, believe it or not, might not be heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great point, because, we do so much in the warehouse around visual management and these different signages and things like that. But it's great to think about it in a way around safety, right? And security, right? And being able to have those additional indicators. Because like you said, there are a lot of noises, right? There's even, a pallet falls on the floor or something. It could sound like a potential shot, right? And somebody may just be like, oh, just a pallet falling or something like that. Yeah.
And we do these simulations in schools and businesses and churches, and we do them with, blank guns. And what I notice more and more is people saying, I would have thought it would have been more distinctful. I tell people in schools, tell me all the time, I thought I would have known when the gun went off, but I didn't even hear most of your shots.
Yeah.
And then you add the kids to the school and all the chaos of school and business. Now that sound even gets more muffled and more hard to understand that there's a gun in your building.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, how do you come up with a plan for a warehouse setting if there is an active shooter?
So here's what you do. And I love that you ask it that way, because a lot of people believe that, okay, well, let's have an active shooter training, right? Let's bring somebody in like myself and tell us how we're supposed to survive. And yes, that is part of it. But I love when you do it the right way. And the right way is start off by building a team. Who is your safety team? And I don't mean, slips, trips, and falls, safety team and workman's comp. I mean threat preparedness and emergency management. Have that team meet monthly. Don't make it a long meeting. Make it be about 10 to 15 minutes, but have an agenda of 2 or 3 threat preparedness things to do. Meet every month. And I love when people meet by Zoom. And even if you're in the same building, I love when they meet by Zoom, because now we don't all get in a room and start the pleasantries of, hey, I seen your son playing Little League. I see his home run and blah, blah. And before you know it, you're an hour into a meeting, right?
Yeah.
Get on a Zoom, have an agenda, build that team. And I like to call it an emergency operation team, an EOT. And that team does nothing but talk safety and security. And then start to bring up, do we have an active shooter policy? Do we have a plan? Where is it located? How do our employees know what it is? What will we train our employees on? what philosophy are we going to hang our hat on when it comes to active shooter? Will it be run, hide, fight? Will it be, other things? First, find out what works for you. Figure out how you're going to disseminate it to your people and how you're going to train them. But that's done through that team. When you jump to just training, then it gets lost in the shuffle somewhere. Then it gets lost. Then you check a box and go, oh, we were trained, but never had the roots to really grow. So do it in steps with a team, and then figure out how you're going to train people. Is it going to be by video? Is it going to be live? Are you going to continually do it? Send them out, updates and reminders through email. But it's got to be serious. You can't train somebody in a 30-minute video on how to survive active shooter and think they're good the rest of the year. It doesn't work that way. So you've got to put a plan together and let that team put that plan. Step 1 is this. Step 2 is this. Let's remind them again until you have a philosophy and you have a culture that knows how to respond to active shooter.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important thing you said there, having a culture around it, right? Because many things that we try to drive through change and innovation and just overall kind of improvement in the operations and warehousing world has to revolve around the culture of the company and the operation itself, right? So,
Absolutely.
So putting that in a culture perspective within that workplace, I think makes such a difference for people to take it seriously and embrace it and live it every day, whether they're living it at work or living it wherever they go in the world, right? I think is really important.
And you couldn't be more right. I mean, it's all about the culture. And we have so many trainings at work, right? There's so many checkbox trainings that we do.
Yeah.
And, here's this mandatory training. Here's this mandatory training. If active shooter, if surviving somebody trying to kill you at your workplace is just checkbox for you, then it's never going to save lives. You need to bring somebody in that when they're done training you, they honestly walk out of a room feeling empowered to say, I don't ever want to be involved in an active shooter event, but if I am, I feel like I have a plan now. You know what I mean? If that's the training, then you stand a better chance of those people going home to the people that they love and the people that love them. If it's a checkbox training that you go, hey, we met this standard of training, it's never going to save anyone. It's just not.
Yeah, absolutely. Now tell us a little bit about kind of the plan when there is an active shooter, because you have some good views that I just heard in your talk, right, about kind of what we've traditionally understood or been taught when there's some type of situation going on. It's not really the right thing to do. So tell us kind of your philosophy.
Yeah, so I realize as I travel the United States and I have an opportunity to be in schools and churches and businesses and sports teams, and they all have the same perception. And the perception is what they've learned in school. You heard me say we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
So when we think we don't know any different until somebody tells us the right way, hopefully. And then our brain goes, oh my goodness, I just didn't know. And what I mean by that is we have gone years and years in our schools and at our businesses where we say, if there's a shooter inside your building, get up under a desk, go in the corner of the room and put your head between your knees. The police are coming to save you. Those aren't survival skills. Those are die skills.
Yeah.
Empowered people with survival skills never get up under tables. They never hide in places that make them vulnerable. Instead, we need to hear empowering training such as, don't get up under a table. As a matter of fact, if somebody's going to come through your door of your office, then get on the interior wall, get something in your hand, and be ready to fight for your life.
Yeah.
When Beryl comes through the door and you already know what the objective is of the bad guy, then you strike that bad guy as hard as you can, right in the bridge of his nose, with your fist, with whatever you have, in hopes that the force that you fight with makes the bad guy drop the gun, fall to the floor, knock him out, incapacitate him, whatever that is. But you get one chance at this.
Yeah.
And you have to be in the right position to do that. And it's never going to happen from underneath a desk, a table, or in the corner of the room. That fight mentality has to come down from deep in your stomach. And it has to tell your brain that I get one chance to have a tactical advantage over the bad guy. Be on the interior wall and tell your brain, if something comes through this door, I'm fighting for my life because I'm going home today.
Yeah.
That's the mentality you have to have. We've got to stop. We've got to stop teaching kids and employees to hide and wait for somebody to come save them. What a terrible way to survive somebody that wants to kill them.
Yeah.
That's what the bad guy wants you to do, is hide under the desk and wait for him to come into the room. He doesn't want you to put up a fight. It's a mindset. And when somebody tells you and empowers you to do that, hopefully it changes minds. And I hope that's what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such a great thing to say, because some of the examples you gave too, it made so much sense. And, it's great to think about that run, hide, fight, right? And be able to kind of, like you said, instead of waiting for somebody to come save you, like, try and save yourself, right? In a sense, right? Yes. So now tell us a little bit about, because in a warehouse environment, right, a lot of times there's high turnover of employees.
Yes.
Right. So how do you make sure that, if you're, whether it's seasonal and they're coming in, they could be there one day and something could happen, right? I mean, they could be there for 1 hour and something could happen. So how do you make sure that, with higher turnover environment, how do you make sure that training and is making sure that it's getting to everybody?
Yeah. And wow, how important is that, right?
Yeah.
It's great when you have somebody, come in and put on a presentation live and you feel empowered when you walk out of the room. But what about everybody else? Right? Yeah. And the turnover in these big distribution centers and things like that. And we've come across that challenge as I've done this for years. We've trained at, places like Hershey Company and DHL and things like that with a lot of turnover sometimes. And what we've done is we say, once every other year, you should bring somebody in live. Yeah. They should stand in front of your people, because that's where that empowerment comes from. But then when you're done with that, you now have a philosophy. And the philosophy, like I trained today, was run, hide, fight. So now somebody like me and my company, we give out a written plan on that. Here it is in writing. Here's your written plan on how to run, hide, fight. Now, you can't bring us back every time you hire somebody. It just wouldn't financially make any sense, right? Yeah. So what we do is, my company at least, is we've made training videos. We've condensed all this into an online training video. So maybe they don't get the full live hour or 2 hours, but they get enough in that condensed version that they understand your philosophy of run, hide, fight. You can sit back as ownership or administration and say, they get it until they get the live, right? So, but then on, first day orientation, or it's part of any other orientation you do with them, let them see the video, let them see what it means to run, hide, fight. And then hopefully they stick around for the live the next time it comes. Yeah. But that's the best way to do it, because you just can't have a live presentation every time somebody comes on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes you have new people starting every day of the week, sometimes in warehouses. So yeah, I think that's a great thing to be able to have that additional resource to tap into, and then have that overall kind of refresher every other year, like you said, live. So really interesting there. And one thing you talked about too is, when there's an announcement, right, that something's happening, right, there tends to be chaos sometimes, right? And if you're in a warehouse, right, I mean, I think the chaos can be heightened a little bit, but also the safety aspect can be more in play. Like we talked about some of the machinery that's in there, with forklifts moving around, people start running and somebody doesn't hear, and, then you have a whole nother potential risk issue there. So how do you avoid the chaos as an individual and also as a group?
Yeah. So chaos grows when more and more people don't have a plan. We prove that time and time again through years when there's some kind of crisis or disaster or some kind of emergency and incident. When we keep adding more people that don't have the answer to the problem, then chaos just grows. So you hear this all the time. And I hear people in training say, you got to stay calm, right? Yeah. You got to stay calm. Well, there's a shooter. Yeah. There's somebody with a gun who is trying to kill me. Mm-hmm. See, calmness isn't something that we switch on and off. Calmness is a result of being trained. Police officers and firemen and people that work in the medical field, when they go on these hectic scenes and we wonder how they perform the tasks that they perform without getting caught up in the chaos, it's because they've been trained prior to going on that scene. And all of a sudden their brain takes over and it tells their body what to do, and they do their task and then walk away from it and almost don't realize that they had the capacity to do that. They walk away. I've had officers involved in shootings and I said, tell me what happened. And they're like, well, and they go on with the story, and then they see the body cam and go, I didn't even know I did that, but it was right. Yeah. Right. So you control chaos by having a plan. And the more people that have plans, less chaos then occurs. When you put people in a room and they're screaming and they're hollering and they're running and they just don't know what's next, that's when people get hurt. That's when the bad guy has an advantage. And I always like to say this. I always say, either you have a plan or you become part of the bad guy's plan. So having a plan controls chaos and keeps you calm.
Interesting. And I love that. I think that's such a great thing because it is, I think I was telling you last night, I was in a situation where there was a potential active shooter and it was absolute chaos. Yes.
Absolute chaos.
Definitely. And, I think what you're teaching is such a great thing to do. And, some of the examples you gave in your talk to were really enlightening on driving that message home. And, I think it's really great that you're doing this and bringing awareness around this. And I'm happy we could get you on here to talk a little bit about it and hopefully spread some more additional awareness. But if people are interested in learning more from you or maybe getting some trainings, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so you can, I appreciate it. And you can find me on LinkedIn under Bubba Fatula, Fatula. You can email me at bubba@threatpreparedness.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on our webpage, the Fatula Group. Reach out to me. Tell me that you're interested. Get a hold of me, and I travel the United States, so don't think there's anywhere that I won't go or my company won't go. We're more than happy to sit down with you, jump on a Zoom with you, and see how we can help you with safety and security.
All right, fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you joining me here, and we will definitely put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well as in the show notes. So, Bubba, thank you so much for what you're doing.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Enjoyed this episode? Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, and for more content from the New Warehouse, find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Links to subscribe can be found in the show notes, and for everything The New Warehouse, head to thenewwarehouse.com.